I'll build a stairway to heaven. I'll climb the highest star. I'll build a stairway to heaven because heaven is where you are. When we hear the song Stairway to Heaven, we normally think Led Zeppelin. But 11 years before that, in 1960, Neil Sedaka wrote the first Stairway to Heaven. The Old Testament has a story of a stairway to heaven. It's also known at a place called Babel. But really, do we believe that people thought that they could actually build a stairway to heaven? A tower that could reach up into the sky? Or is this just another fairy tale? Hold on. Not so fast. Let's talk about it. Hello, I'm Methodist Dave. I'm a professional theologian and Bible teacher. And before I start our message today, I want to say hello to a viewer from the other side of the pond, Mr. P. Barnes II. Good day to you, sir. Glad to have you joining us on the other side there. And welcome to you. We have a couple channels that we like to view together. Fraud or Follies, which you find on YouTube. It's a really great channel. The fellow who runs that channel, Hezekiah, he's got a great sense of humor, and it's really a fun show, making fun of the sovereign citizen movement. So let's get into our Bible story today. Prior to this account in Genesis, we have the story of the flood. And then there is the table of nations, where the descendants of Noah, and it's so-and-so begat, so-and-so begat, so-and-so begat. A lot of big words, hard to pronounce. Most people skip these parts. But the command that God gives to Noah is to go out, spread out through the world, and repopulate it. We do that pretty well. And we come to chapter 11, just 9 verses, a very short part of the Bible, but it has captured people's imaginations in art and music and culture and theology. In this place called the Plains of Shinar, which would be Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, we read about a group of people who gather together to build a great city, and in that city to build a great tower. And because of this government, this empire that they're going to build, they are going to make themselves a great name. They will be a superpower in the world. So the command is to spread, but they want to concentrate. They want to build their new society. And their goal was not to build a tower, but to build a name for themselves. It was as an exercise in pride and ego. And we're told that the people shared a common language. Well, why wouldn't they, being descended, as the Bible tells us, from the family of Noah, that they could all communicate with one another. They had a goal. Build a big city, a big tower, make a name, and they were unified in that goal. They had a charismatic leader in the persona of a king called Nimrod. We learn about Nimrod from chapter 10 in the list of nations, the list of names and begats. And it tells us a little bit about this man named Nimrod, who is this one world leader. He's doing what everyone has wanted to do over thousands of years. Napoleon, Hitler, Stalin, all these megalomaniacs trying to build their one world empire. And we're told that they're going to build this city and they're going to build this tower, and they're going to use bricks because they had no stone. Now, if we remember, the first 5 books of the Bible are attributed to Moses. And Moses, we're told, grew up in Egypt. And in Egypt and in the Levant, the area of modern Israel and that whole Mediterranean coast there's a lot of rock. There's a lot of stone. So you find buildings that are made out of stone. But when you go into Mesopotamia, there's not a lot of rock there. It's kind of a floodplain. What they have is a lot of clay and mud. So they would make bricks, and they would lay these bricks out in the sun and let them bake in the sun. They also learned that you could fire bricks too. If you fired the bricks in a kiln, you could make them even harder. So they begin to build this giant city. Now, the tower they build is not a ladder. We're told that its top reaches up to the heaven. This tower, forget all the Tower of Pisa type designs or the spiral things. Think ziggurat. We have one of the great examples from this ancient time, the great ziggurat of Ur, where Abram, we're going to hear about in one of our upcoming videos, Abram lived in the city of Ur. And these ziggurats were actually observation towers for astronomy, astrology. The top was in the heavens. It was oriented toward the heavens. And we find ziggurats or pyramids all around the world. We think Egypt of its great pyramids for burial. But if you go down to Mexico and South America, there are ziggurats, step ziggurats, that were used for worship and also used for celestial observation. And there were markings, and that there are structures on top of these ziggurats with windows that could be used at certain times of the year when stars would line up through these windows. Archaeology has a long history with ancient Mesopotamia. Now, the Chaldeans were well known throughout the ages for being experts in the astrological arts. Astronomical, but also astrological. The Magi were a group of Chaldeans who came to visit young baby Jesus on that first Christmas. And it's thought that the city of Babylon was the site of this tower, and the remains of this tower may actually exist today. Certainly the Tower of Ur was covered, and people thought it was a mountain for a long time before we dug it out. So now we have a culture that has developed their own religion. They've got a leader who's trying to establish a one world government, which itself is a recipe for oppression. This is rebellion against God. So God causes the people to speak different languages, and they diverge from one another. They fulfill the command to spread across the globe. When you can't communicate with someone, you can't work together. Now, linguistically speaking, many of our words share root and foundational languages that come from the Middle East, even as far away as India, the Indo-European languages, that they're coming from this Asian area. So, a lot of these people here migrated into Europe. So some of the words that we have today are very, very old. And you can see just how much that it has changed over the course of the year. Our own culture, people from different regions use words that people in other areas have absolutely no idea what the heck they're talking about. My sister-in-law comes from Virginia, but she and my brother lived for a time in Cape Cod. Now, she's lived in Pennsylvania and Wyoming and Georgia, but when you sit and talk to her, she still uses the word wicked all the time. She picked that up in the greater Boston area. And there are places that like to call soda, which we call colas and orange. We call them soda in the southern New Jersey area here. But you go up to Buffalo and they call them pop or soda pop. You can get a hero sandwich, but around here you get a hoagie. And if you want to know, a hoagie is an Italian sub with lettuce, tomato, oil and vinegar, onions, with Italian ham, capicola, salami, and provolone cheese. That's a hoagie. And it's got to have oil and vinegar. If it doesn't have any of that, it's not a hoagie. It's just a sandwich. And let's not get started with the words that they use over in Great Britain that have absolutely no connection with the United States. When I go and get chips, I'm getting fried potatoes that are really, really thin and come in an aluminum bag. But if I go to Great Britain and I order chips, I'm getting French fries. And they want crisps. They have crisps instead of chips. And here, crisps, they're little sugar cookies. So we're a common people divided by, we're a people divided by a common language, I think, as Winston Churchill once said. One thing I really want to drive home to your attention in this short 9 verses is God's observation and declaration that a people united for a common goal will be able to accomplish that goal. I think that's important to remember. The most important part of the story, that a people united, working together, can achieve their goal. This is why in so many places there are people work hard to divide us, to separate us into factions and groups, because once we're separated and working against each other, we cannot work on that common goal, and it keeps us in a state of chaos and easy to control by tyrannical governments. I think also if we work together, the government knows that we won't need them anymore, and the government doesn't like competition. If you've got any questions about this chapter or any other subject, just drop me a line on my email, methodistdave@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing you again, and to those viewing us over on the other side in Great Britain and wherever you might see us, I wish you well and hope that you have a pleasant and blessed day. Methodist Dave out.